Welcome to another edition of the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. My name is Juan Pablo Guardin Camargo, and today I am joined on a call full of experts remotely. I got Big Trust, Mr. Darren Braxton on the call, and our resident Falcons fan, Avery Collins, on the bottom. What's up, guys?
Yo, yo.
Guys, when I joined the show today, I was hearing this major debate about Marvel, about Wolverine and Deadpool between Avery Collins and our producer, Mr. Jerome Jones. And, thinking about it, I'm a bit of a Marvel fan. I love the MCU. And it got me wondering, when is that Black Widow movie coming out, guys? There's rumors about it coming out on Disney Plus. But then I see, and I'm excited to see it, unless it comes out to cost like $30, kind of like how Mulan's coming out the same way. So Avery, since you started that Marvel debate when I got in, I want to ask you, would you watch Black Widow for $30 on Disney Plus?
Well, first it was Black Panther versus Wolverine, and Black Panther would win. Second, I'm not sure. I mean, it's tough. So here, it's two things, right? So the first part that would frustrate me would be the fact that, again, this is a woman's movie, right? And so we saw how Wonder Woman did and Captain Marvel did for women's, morale and everything like that, right? So because all these other movies are getting pushed back so they can be released in theaters. So if you're saying, oh, well, the women's movie, we're just going to release it on Disney Plus, that's kind of a slight to women in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't like that, but I'm a Marvel fanatic. Just like Jerome said, I'm a Marvel fanatic. So I would, without question, pay $30 to see that movie. Black Widow is actually one of my favorite female characters, for sure. So I just can't. I can't let that go. Like I gotta see it. Now I'm already a Disney Plus subscriber, so I'll be like, wait, you're gonna make me pay on top of paying? But at the same time, I wouldn't care, man. Listen, I need Marvel. I need something. I need something going on. And like I said, love Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson plays the crap out of that character. She's phenomenal, and they don't have her for too much longer. I'm hearing that she doesn't want to continue on with the character for too much longer. So, I would definitely have to tune in.
Understandable. Big Trust, what do you think? Would you pay $30 for a Black Widow movie on Disney Plus?
That's not even really a question, because I'm one of them people that not only went to see Black Panther in the theater 3 times, but I also went to both of the Endgame twice in the theater. Mm-hmm. So that's roughly about, let's say, $15 a pop. I'm a little bit over $100 there on just 3 movies. So yeah, it's without a question. I'm too big of a fan, and just a rebuttal, it's not going to happen. I still got Wolverine for killing Black Panther.
How, dog? That doesn't make any sense. We can talk about
that another day.
I'm posting the argument right now because we don't have the time for that. For now, we got to run. We got to get running, guys. And to do that, we got to get into the rundown. And starting up the rundown today, we go into Buffalo, where the Buffalo Bills have secured Josh Allen's blindside for the next 4 years as they signed their left tackle Dion Dawkins to a $60 million deal over the next 4 years, with $34 million of it guaranteed. So expect Josh Allen's blindside to be protected. Dion Dawkins, one of the premier left tackles in the AFC East at the moment, secure for a playoff rush, possibly. Starting this week, the NFL is lifting their free agent visiting ban, which could see a wave of new free agent signings coming in, the most significant being that of defensive end Everson Griffin, who just signed a 1-year, $6 million contract with the Dallas Cowboys. Griffin spent the last 10 years of his career with the Vikings, but had to leave in 2018 due to some mental health concerns. He was garnering interest from the Seahawks just a week ago. And keeping in theme with the Seahawks, undrafted rookie cornerback Kemah Siverand was released today. And why does that matter? Why are we talking about an undrafted rookie free agent cornerback? Well, because according to NFL.com, Siverand tried to sneak a female visitor into the team hotel, into the hotel that the Seahawks were staying at, which violated not only team rules but COVID-19 protocols. Reportedly, the woman was wearing Seahawk clothes in order to try to pass as a player in the security cameras, and a lot of questions about that we'll get into. But for now, we're moving back down to Dallas, where the Cowboys have announced new protocols for fans to attend home games at AT&T Stadium, including limiting capacity with breaking down seat blocks so that groups of people are blocked away from other groups of people throughout the entire stadium, calling them pods to maintain distance between groups. And attendees will be required to wear masks and pay for food through card, no cash. And finally, free agent defensive back Logan Ryan had his agent tell NFL teams that he's willing to switch to safety to land a new contract. Comparing himself to Chief safety Tyrann Mathieu as a multifaceted defensive back, Ryan's last major play was with the Tennessee Titans during their Cinderella playoff run, where he scored a pick six against Tom Brady in his last game as a Patriot. And that will conclude it for today's rundown. Avery, I know you brought this up in the chat, and you were just your reaction was hilarious about it, about Severin bringing in this female person. Did he, like, we saw in Hard Knocks that a Rams player tried a similar thing and it didn't work, and that guy was cut in not only on the show but from that team in 2016. Tell me, what was this? How dumb of a move was this in your opinion?
Come on, man! Like what? Like this is right up there with the a come on, man segment. Like, dude, you're an undrafted free agent, man. You're trying your best to literally live your dream, and you can't just for 3 months. First of all, actually, not even 3 months, because you're not guaranteed to be on the squad. So for the next potentially 4 weeks, you couldn't go without seeing a girl. Come on, man. Like you gotta be smart. You have to be smarter than that. I'm sorry. You just have to be smarter than that. From not just from a career standpoint, but from a health standpoint. Like coronavirus is really running the nation right now. Like whether you believe in it or not. Like I know some people are like, oh, it's a conspiracy. It's used to control, yada. It's to distract us from what the government, whatever. I don't care. The fact of the matter is, people's lives are at stake, point blank, period. And for you to potentially put yourself, your girlfriend, and others at risk is just selfish. It's irresponsible. It's immature. It's just downright buffoonish. It's like, what made you think that? Okay, yeah, I'm going to bring my girl in. More importantly, I'm going to sneak her in, wearing our team's paraphernalia. Like what? To me, like that. Just to me, that's just.
The things a man would do to try to get some action, even in a pandemic. Darren, with Logan Ryan trying to resurface, trying to make the move to safety, is it a smart move for him, and to try to find out? Because remember, he was trying to get a $10 million contract after he had such a great year with the Titans. Was close to get one with the Jets, but it just didn't really work out.
So I think for Logan Ryan, what's best is that transition. I still don't think he's going to get the $10 million that he's looking for, just because of the way everything is right now. But I do feel like if he plays well on a team on a 1-year deal, maybe for roughly between $6 to $8 million this year with incentives, then he can get somewhere closer to that $10 million deal he was looking for next offseason. And I really do like the transition. I'm just going to go into that for a second, because you got to understand, Logan Ryan was one of the more underrated defensive backs all last year. And he's been quietly doing this his entire career. So you have to understand why he's looking for that type of deal.
Logan Ryan, a Rutgers alum, # Let's Go RU, because that's my alma mater right there. And I know that he's been garnering still some interest from some teams, including the Washington football team, who is our first topic of the day today, as it was reported last week that the Washington team had released their running back Darius Geis after he was charged with domestic violence earlier last week. And you know, Geis coming in the NFL, he was touted as a power back from the LSU who can really do damage on the ground, but he hasn't even been able to maintain his health as a player. He's been in the league for 3 seasons. In total, he's only had more than at least less than 90 snaps in total as a player. And he's had, and this isn't even his first incident in this year. He's had domestic violence incidents stemming from as early as February of this year. And Washington had to do what they did. They cut him, and there's a chance that we might not see Darius Guice ever make a roster, because there's a chance that he might even see some jail time going forward. And that leaves Washington with quite a few names at the running back position, 5 to be exact. We got Adrian Peterson, Peyton Barber, Antonio Gibson, Bryce Love, and J.D. McKissick. And Darren, I want to ask you, we can talk about fantasy stats with these 5 as far as it can go, but for Washington, after all the controversy that they've been through, even having Reuben Foster on the roster, was this a good first step for them to try to clean their image? And what will happen to Darius Guice?
So Darius Guice, in my opinion, is still gonna have a chance. Only because if he learns at some point down the line and makes it a good story, someone's going to give him a shot, especially if he's not over the age of about 27, 28. I know he's roughly about 25, 26 now. So he has about a year or 2 to get himself together before that age is getting a little close to the end of a running back's career more so. But I do feel like it's helpful for the Washington football team image that they're actually getting rid of guys that are dealing with domestic violence and doing things off the field that shouldn't really be done, no matter what you're doing as a career. But in particular with football, you have to get yourself together, and they're starting to clear house. And some smart move on them. Props to their organization and Ron Rivera, who's not playing games with them over there. You got to understand. He's going to make that team a lot better. I will say that.
Avery, Rivera's teams have been known to base their offense heavily on the run game. He did it with Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey back during his days in Carolina. And now with this quintuple court of running backs that he has going on, Adrian Peterson, Peyton Barber, Bryce Love, who do you see coming out as the lead back?
First, with Darius Guice, I think his career, I'm going to have to disagree with Darren. I think his career might be over before it started. It's not like he produced on the field enough for you to say, okay, this guy is worth the shot. It's not a Kareem Hunt situation where Kareem Hunt for 2-3 years was one of the top players in the league. And then this happened. And, we haven't seen that from Darius Guice. The only thing we have really to go on is college. And so we don't even know if your game translates well to the NFL. You couldn't stay healthy in the NFL. So it's a situation where it's like, not only could you not stay healthy, we haven't seen you play, and you have off the field issues. It might be. I'm not saying it is, but it just might be over before it got started. I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be Adrian Peterson. He's the vet. He's the guy who knows what he's doing. He had almost 1,000 yards again last year at over 900. He's proven that he's got that Frank Gore type of longevity in him, where it's like it just seems like these guys are like superhuman almost, right? It's like they just keep going, and it's a situation where they just kind of seem to get stronger the more that the game goes along. You feed these guys, and it's like they're like, okay, yeah. Now I've got my feet going. Now I've got the blood going. Now I've got my muscles activated, and I'm ready to go to work. Adrian Peterson is actually a better catcher than advertised. No, he's not Le'Veon Bell. No, he's not Alvin Kamara out of the backfield catching the football like Christian McCaffrey or anything like that. But to say that he can't catch is actually false. His catch percentage is actually pretty high for his career. He just doesn't get targeted a lot. With that being said, I think Adrian Peterson ends up coming out on top as the lead back. I think behind him will be Antonio Gibson, actually. I think he's the most versatile of the rest of the remaining backs. Maybe J.D. McKissick, but because he's more of a gadget guy, he can return as well. But Antonio Gibson can do everything. He can play receiver. He can play outside, inside. He can play running back. He can play He can play. He can be a returner for you. I mean, the guy is extremely athletic. We got a chance to see him at the Senior Bowl, and I don't know if Jerome remembers, but my first thought was, this guy's a running back. I looked at him, I was like, there's no way this guy's a running back. I mean, he's not built like a running back. He's built like a defensive end. The guy is a stud. So I think he becomes the number 2 guy, and then I think Bryce Love ends up making the roster as well. Because again, versatility. But at the end of the day, I just think that Adrian Peterson, his veteran prowess, the fact that he's been in the system, he knows the system, he's been there longest, and he's AP.
Darren, real quick, out of the 5, who do you think is going to break out?
My money is honestly on Bryce Love. I loved him coming out of college. Unfortunately, he had to deal with the injury, but I feel like he can bounce back. I do like Antonio Gibson. He's going to definitely be someone to look out for. But I feel like Bryce Love has the most potential out of the 3 major ones, which is him and Antonio Gibson, and possibly J.D. McKissic, just because he can do a little bit of everything. I feel like he has the most potential to break out of everybody. But AP is going to lead the backfield anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
To a lesser coach, this situation would be hard to figure out. But Ron Rivera has 5 years to figure out how he's going to take this team forward. And with Washington, it's going to be an interesting experiment to see how such a revered coach can turn that situation around. However, there are coaches around the NFL that haven't had as much luck with their turnarounds and their careers, and they might be feeling a little bit warm in the pants, if you guys know what I mean. I'm talking about the hot seat. And in this hot seat, we have 4 candidates on the line right now. We have Adam Gase of the New York Jets, Dan Quinn of the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Nagy of the Chicago Bears, and Doug Marrone of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Avery, I know that you are a major Falcons fan, and to hear Dan Quinn's name on this list can be a bit, discouraging. But am I wrong in that assessment that Dan Quinn might be seeing his way out if the Falcons do not make the playoffs in an NFC South heavy contender?
It's hard to say, but I agree with you. I think that he is in the hot seat in that regard. I think it's a situation where he not making the playoffs last year really hurt, right? Obviously, we saw what they did. They went 6-2 down the stretch of the season, and so that I think that saved his job honestly for this season, going into this season. But I think with all the weapons that they have on offense right now, with the defense starting off healthy and bringing in some really, really, really splash pieces, I believe, in Marlon Davidson, Dante Fowler, bringing in Darqueze Dennard, one of the better slot corners in the league. I think that he's primed to make a run right now. And I think that a playoff run is what saves his job. I think if they get back to the playoffs, especially with Tom Brady being brought into Tampa, with everything that New Orleans is doing with Cam Newton being moved out and Bridgewater coming in to Carolina, I think it's a situation where if they can navigate through that division, which I believe again is now the toughest division in football, I think that that can secure his job as well, at least another year. But I do believe that he is on the hot seat. At the end, it sucks because at the end of the day, players have to make the plays. But at the same time, we know that it's a players' league in a sense. And so the fans come to see the players, not the coaches. So they'll probably get rid of the coach before they get rid of any one of the players. So I do believe that that he is on the hot seat. I think the next guy is probably Matt Nagy. I don't believe Doug Marrone because they're rebuilding. They're clearly rebuilding in Jacksonville.
And actually, I kind of want to give Matt Nagy to Darren in that aspect to try to move into that. So Darren, I kind of want to know, I'm really interested because of your analysis of what you think is going to happen to Matt Nagy now that he has Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback. And we got a Facebook user saying that Dan Quinn might get another year. It's not his fault that his players get injured. And while that may be true, a coach is supposed to make the most out of the roster that he has, and Quinn has just not been able to do that, no matter how deep the roster can be. But back to Darren, I just want your thoughts. Does Matt Nagy deserve to be in the hot seat, even though it's because Mitch Trubisky is his quarterback?
I definitely did. He was hired, and they went and got Trubisky, I believe. They had him a year before he got hired. He tried to work with the guy. It started to work, but last year it really showed his true colors. And I really didn't like Trubisky that high as it is. So now we're having Nick Foles as competition. I think Matt Nagy can either one, go the safe route and try to start Nick Foles, or two, continue on with Mitchell Trubisky and run the risk of losing a job. With Nick Foles, I feel as though they paid more so for him than anything else with that deal that they made to get him. Nick Foles is not it, but the way the Bears are looking at it, it might be better than Mitchell Trubisky at the end of the day.
Avery, you have a quick rebuttal?
Yeah, I just don't know if Nick Foles is the safe choice because there hasn't been an off season. He hasn't been able to gel with his offensive line, his receivers, the way that he would in a normal off season. So I don't know if Nick Foles. I just don't know if he's the safe choice because Mitchell Trubisky knows the system. Mitchell Trubisky knows Matt Nagy going into it's his second year. So I just don't know if Nick Foles is the safe choice. I get what you're saying as far as safe, as in he's composed, he's not going to turn the ball over, he's a veteran, and all of those things. But
they just need to get to the playoffs. That's how I feel, and I don't think Mitchell Trubisky will get them there.
And look, Jerome, here's whose opinion I think would matter most about this. Our producer, Jerome Jones, as the resident Eagles fan here, he had Nick Foles man the ship for about 2 years, and it took him not only for a Super Bowl win, but a deep playoff game against Nagy's Bears back in 2018. And Jerome, if you can quickly comment, do you feel like Nick Foles can make an impact in Chicago, or is Mitchell Trubisky the man moving forward? I think we'll be hearing from him for a bit, but that's okay. Personally, I'll have to say that watching Nick Foles develop as a quarterback in Doug Peterson's system was really well done. And let's put it this way: Foles outside of Philly does not work. He tried with the Rams, it failed. He tried with the Chiefs, it failed. He tried with Jacksonville, he got hurt, and it failed. So to see how he'll do in Chicago, it's going to be an interesting experiment, but I honestly expect Nick Foles to retire after this year because he just doesn't have it outside of the city of Philadelphia. And, we just mentioned one of his old teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Doug Marrone, who's been there for the past 4 years since the birth of Saxonville. His squads aren't looking that well. He had to trade away his premier cornerback in Jalen Ramsey last year. It's not looking good for the former Syracuse head coach. So, Avery, I want to ask you, is Doug Marrone on the hot seat?
I don't think so. I think, first of all, I think Doug Marrone is a good coach. Let's get that out the way. I think he's a really good coach, actually. But I don't know if he's on the hot seat because, again, they're in a rebuilding mode. So I think it's a situation where unless they are completely rebuilding and saying, we're going to bring in a coach with our young, quarterback or a coach with our young whatever the situation is, then I could see him being on the hot seat. But because they're rebuilding and they haven't let him go just yet, and because he knows Gardner Minshew and it looks like he's going to be the guy moving forward at least for this year, I think you will want to build with those two guys if that's their plan. And according to what we've seen so far this offseason, it looks like that is the case. So I don't think that he is on the hot seat. It takes a lot of gall to be able to trade away a guy like Jalen Ramsey and all the other pieces that they let go, Calais Campbell and all these different other pieces that they let go in order to do this rebuild. So to me, it looks like he has a little bit of leeway. It looks like the owner and GM are saying to him, we're going to give you a chance to build your team the way that you want it, the way that you have your aspirations. set. So and again, you still got pieces there, right? You got Josh Allen on defense. On the offensive side of the ball, you still got Leonard Fournette, though obviously he's not the happiest person, but you still got Leonard Fournette, so he's a staple there. And I think if you're saying that Gardner Minshew is going to be a guy moving forward, you don't want to have to constantly keep changing coaching regimes with a young quarterback. So I don't think he's on the hot seat.
I'm going to give you the last coach on this list, and I have to be unbiased in this situation. It's my team, the New York Jets. So it's only been a 1 year, but is Adam Gase on the hot seat because he is responsible for the development of Sam Darnold, of having to try to use Le'Veon Bell properly, of working a defense without its top two. I see it, Jerome. I don't want it. Put it down. And, having to handle a defense that listens more to their defensive coordinator than their actual head coach. So is Adam Gase on the hot seat?
He was on a hot seat the moment he got hired, to be honest with you. I like Adam Gase as an offensive coordinator, but not as a head coach. It's just not there for him. And I feel like if he does not have Sam Darnold showing some type of progress after this year, and I mean real progress, the progress that's already been shown from a lot of the guys that came out in the year he came out and after. So it's time to put up or shut up with Adam Gase, and he needs to get Sam Darnold on pace and doing something to not have to leave this year. Just my opinion.
A lot of guys, have been a lot of football guys like Adam Gase came out as football gurus, offensive gurus coming in and being able to revolutionize things, and they just don't turn out that way. But coaches like San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan really showed that he can innovate an offense and really push players to their potential, a la George Kittle, who today signed a massive 5-year, $75 million deal with the 49ers. And out of that, $40 million of it is in total guarantees with an $18 million signing bonus. Now, when Kittle was first starting his contract negotiations, his agent reported that he wanted to be paid like a wide receiver because he plays like one just as much as he plays as a tight end. So, Darren, I want to ask you, is this money deserved for George Kittle?
George Kittle was voted the number one tight end basically in football. That should speak for itself in the fact that he's not only jumped over Zach Ertz and Travis Kelce as number one guys. We already know he was rivaling with what Gronk does when he was in his prime right now. The only thing he needs, honestly, to me, is just a little more touchdowns. But in the overall scheme of it, he's definitely deserving of his contract. He does everything for that team, and he does it well, whether it be blocking, catching the ball, getting first downs, grinding it out whenever needed. Yeah, he deserves his contract. And I'm happy that he got paid like a wide receiver to help boost that tight end market up. Just makes it look nice on everybody. But yeah, definitely deserves to say that.
And on the same day, another tight end got paid. You just mentioned him, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs got paid a 4-year, $57.25 million contract, $28 million of it guaranteed. There's tight end right there doing the cha-cha. And Kelce last year had more yards than Kittle. He had more catches than Kittle, yet he's making less money comparatively. And Avery, I want to ask: is this a fair deal for Travis, or should he be the number one paid tight end?
So one thing we got to remember: who's older, and that's the factor right there. Travis Kelce's older than George Kittle. George Kittle's younger, so he's going to get paid more. Travis Kelce, by the time he's done this contract, it looks like he'll be 36 years old. He's around 30 years old right now. So by the end of this 6-year contract, it's a total of 6 years. He'll be 36 years old. So it's a situation where it's just George Kittle's a younger guy. He's only been in the league for 3 years. And so you pay him early, right? You want to get the contract out the way early, because if he does end up tailing off towards the end of the contract, now you don't have to pay him as much moving forward. Or if he pans out and plays phenomenally, and just continues to progress, you really got a bargain, honestly. So I think that George Kittle does, in fact, deserve to be the highest paid tight end. Also, not just because of those factors, but because of the fact that, like Darren brought up, he blocks. Not to say that Travis Kelce doesn't, but George Kittle is one of the best, if not the best, blocking tight end in the National Football League. So it's a situation where he does everything that you want him to do. It's not just catches and yards and touchdowns. It's blocking. It's bringing the energy. It's setting the tone on offense. It's being the biggest threat on offense, if we're going to be honest. I mean, and still producing, right? I mean, outside of, I guess you would say Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe. There's no other huge threat, right? I mean, you had the rookie wide receiver come on last year, but outside of, the biggest threat on that team is George Kittle. Now, Travis Kelce, he's not the biggest threat. I would say he is, but some might argue that he's not the biggest threat on the team. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Nicole Hardman, you have Sammy Watkins, and your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. So it's a situation where, you pay the guy who's producing and he's the most valuable to the offense. I think George Kittle deserves to get that money. Again, I don't think any player deserves to get these multi-million-dollar deals, but for the culture and everything like that, then yes, I believe that he deserves to be the highest paid tight end in the league. And I believe that Travis Kelce should be the second highest paid tight end in the league.
Quick thoughts on that before we go forward into our hot takes for today. Darren, real quick, who's gonna have the better season in 2020? Kittle or Kelce?
I'm going Kelce.
And why?
I'm going Kelce. I'm going Kelce because if you think about the offseason, the 49ers didn't add too much to the offense itself. They end up losing Deebo Samuel, who was a great choice. So, yes, George Kittle might be getting a little more attention, but he's going to be doubled and tripled a lot more because they don't have as many weapons on offense as the Chiefs do. The Chiefs will be going into the season humming on all cylinders. They basically returned their entire squad from last year on offense, and it's just going to be insane, that chemistry that they still have built up for all that time playing together. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to get going faster, especially with not having any preseason games, than I feel like it will be for the 49ers. So, edge, Kelce.
All right, Avery.
It's tough. I'm going to say edge to Kelce because of the fact of the division that he plays in. The defenses aren't as strong as they are in the 49ers division. So I'm going to say edge to Kelce. But again, when we're talking about better season, I think what we have to see what are the criteria that we're using to say better. Because if we're not using the same criteria, then it doesn't matter. Some people would say Travis Kelce had a better season last year than George Kittle because, again, he had more catches and more yards, right? But if you're talking about somebody who's blocking, who has more pancakes, who has more, yards after the catch, who has, all of these other factors, I think if you're going to bring into those factors into the conversation, it's got to be George Kittle. Because, again, like I said, from an all-around standpoint, I just don't know if you can say that Travis Kelce is better than George Kittle. Maybe up to par, but I just don't know if you can say you definitely can't say he's better than George Kittle, not currently at least.
All right, we got both similar takes, and now it's time to give a little bit more of the spicy takes. Therefore, hot on the hot takes, and with this week I'm going to hand it off to Avery first hot take of the day. So Avery.
Say that again.
I'm gonna give that. I want you to give the first take. What's a hot take you got to spit out?
My hot take. I'm going like underdogish. It's like my theme, or like kind of like the forgotten guys. It's been my theme the last 2 weeks. My hot take is It's very, very simple. AJ Green will play a full 16-game season and establish himself as a top 5 wide receiver.
And you say that because?
I just got a feeling, man. I just have a feeling that AJ Green is going to have one of those years where he's like, you know what, you forgot about me. It's kind of like I said last week about Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley. I just have a feeling that these guys have been. I think the quarantine has helped these guys more than it's hurt them. It's given them a lot of time to rest, reflect, and really get their bodies in pristine condition. So I think it's a situation where AJ Green now, it looks like, I don't think AJ Green wants to be in Cincinnati anymore, if I'm going to be quite frank. And I think this is the year where he's like, I'm going to ball out and make sure that I increase my market value because I want to get out of here type deal. And so I just think, me personally, I just feel like he's going to play a full 16-game season. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's gonna do what he's got to do. I think he's gonna stay healthy this year. I think his body's gonna be right this year, and I think he's gonna re-solidify himself as a top 5 wide receiver in this league. I think he's gonna take a lot of pressure off of Joe Burrow. Doesn't mean I think that they're gonna have extreme success because they play in a very, very, very tough division. But I think he himself will have individual success this year.
As our Facebook user just said, AJ Green will have something to prove going into 2020. Yes, he will have something to prove indeed. And we're going to see how he can prove that in a stacked AFC North division. And speaking of the AFC North, Darren of the Baltimore Ravens, what is your hot take for today?
So I'm going to actually go with, and along the lines of something I put out there a while ago. Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars will have, I believe, 15-plus sacks this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go along those lines. And we all can see it kind of coming. So it's not too spicy. But the spicy part is if he can really pull it off. Nick Bosa of the 49ers has 20-plus sacks this year.
For a second-year pass rusher for 20 sacks?
20-plus sacks. See, that's the spicy part. Because we all know he can get to double digits. But can he hit the 20? Can he hit the 20? If he can get past 20 and creep close to that NFL sack record, that boy's going to be looking like the defensive Patrick Mahomes.
I think that last was meant for the OJ Green we had. But no, like Nick Bosa hitting 20. Could he break the sack record? We don't know. But, if Darren says that he can hit the 20, nothing's really that impossible now, is it? All right. I'm going to get my revolve my New York Jets, and I'm going to predict it here right now. I am going to say that the Jets are not only going to get off to a rough start going into the season, but that Adam Gase is going to be fired within 10 games of the season.
Oh, all right.
Greg Williams is going to replace him as the interim head coach, just like he did in Cleveland when they fired Freddie Kitchens. And, no, not Freddie Kitchens, excuse me, when they fired what was his name? Not Marvin Lewis.
Who? Where? What team? What team?
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. Thank you, Darren. Yeah. So it's the New York is gonna pull a Cleveland. They're gonna fire Adam Gase like they did Hugh Jackson in Cleveland back in 2018. And Greg will take over, and the Jets will finish. I believe, be either a 6-10 or 7-9 record as a result. Because let's face it, Gase is not, like Darren said, is not fit to be a head coach. He's a better offensive coordinator. He's divisive as a coach in the locker room, so much so that he got one of his players traded away to Seattle, and people in Miami and Denver still gripe about him as a coach. So that's how I see it. And, with that, it will open the door for Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, to come in and take over. And that's just the dream that every Jets fan that's watching is imagining right now.
I don't doubt the first part. I could see happening. I could see Adam Gase getting fired midway through the season. I could see that happening. I think that he has too much of a tyrannical like mindset, but Jerome and these gifts, man. But I just think that I think it's a situation where I don't think Eric's going to come over. Especially not midseason. If it happens, it's going to happen, after the season. But I just don't know.
Say he comes midseason. I mean, like that.
Yeah. I just don't know. I just don't know if he would go to the Jets potentially, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I could potentially see the first part happening.
Jerome, we're not here to talk about the Eagles right now. We're talking about Jets, man. North Jersey, let's go. And Darren, real quick, man, like, okay, I see how it is. Let's see. Darren, real quick, you think Adam Gase gets fired and will Greg Williams take over?
Adam Gase is getting fired 8 games. I won't give him 10. I give him 8. Like I said, if he doesn't show that he can at least upgrade that offense and make that offense work, he's not going to stay. He's nothing but an offensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. Some guys are made for being head coaches. Some guys are just made for offensive coordinators. It's fine. But he's the offensive coordinator trying to be a head coach, and it's not going to last.
What? Nah, that should have been nothing, man. That should have been nothing.
Honestly, I agree with that, man. I think that if he went to straight offensive coordinator, I think Sam Darnold would have progressed a lot more in his career so far. If he was just strictly focused on the offense and the development of Sam Darnold and different things like that. So I agree with Darren in that sense. I think he has too much on his plate, and it's not working out.
And we'll see going forward into 2020 what will happen. But for now, that will conclude it for us here on the Air It Out podcast. Everyone, thank you for listening in. Remember, you can check us out on our website at InsideTheHashes.com and find the audio version of this on Spotify, on Anchor Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, Inside the Hashes is there. You can also follow us on our YouTube page. That's Inside the Hashes. On Twitter, we are at Inside Hashes. On Instagram, we are at Inside the Hashes. And on Facebook, we are Inside the Hashes, the football group. I'm Juan Pablo Bodin Camargo for Avery Collins, for Darren Braxton, for Jerome Jones. We'll see you next Thursday. And shout out to our Patriots fan, Darius.